What if I told you that power, politics, and manipulation have been a tangled web for centuries? Welcome to our exploration of The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli, set against the backdrop of its historical context. In the tumultuous early 16th century, a Florentine diplomat named Niccolo Machiavelli crafted a masterwork that would become the quintessential guide for political leadership and cunning. The Prince is not just a book, it's a reflection of the world of politics, a survival manual in the brutal chess game of power. It's where the term Machiavellian was born, denoting political deceit and manipulation. To fully grasp the essence of The Prince, we need to delve into Machiavelli's life and the events that inspired its creation. Machiavelli existed in an era of relentless political upheaval and transient alliances, like the shifting balance of power between the Medici family and the Republic of Florence. From this chaos he derived timeless wisdom on power, leadership, and strategy. His insights, while often causing a stir for their ruthless pragmatism, were always rooted in the gritty truth of power politics, akin to the realpolitik approach seen in today's international relations. The Prince is creatively structured. Each chapter unveils a different facet of political leadership. Whether it's the importance of feigning virtue while being capable of vice, a strategy seen in leaders from his contemporary Cesare Borgia to modern politicians, or the perils of neutrality, Machiavelli's exploration of power dynamics is exhaustive. The Prince has sparked controversy throughout history, hailed by some as a tyrant's guidebook, while others regard it as a pragmatic map to the perilous seas of politics. This dichotomy underlines the book's enduring relevance and its capacity to provoke thought and debate. Now, let us embark on our journey into Machiavelli's vision of power and manipulation. With each chapter, we'll unearth a new aspect of his philosophy, drawing parallels between Machiavelli's era and our own. So, prepare yourself as we uncover the intricate weave of The Prince, from its birth in Renaissance Italy to its echoes in the present-day political landscape. Machiavelli begins his study of power with a clear-cut distinction, segregating all states, all powers into two categories: republics or principalities. As we embark on the journey through the initial chapter of The Prince, we dive into the realm of political taxonomy, a sphere where states and governments are disentangled and understood in their purest forms. Machiavelli, with his sharp intellect and analytical acuity, divides states into two chief groups: republics and principalities. He delineates republics as states where governance is a collective effort, an example of which from his era would be the Republic of Florence, and in today's world, the United States of America. Authority in such states is spread among the citizens, decisions are the result of public consensus. On the contrary, principalities are states where power is in the hands of an individual ruler, a prince or a king, who holds absolute sovereignty, akin to the Duchy of Milan during Machiavelli's time, or Saudi Arabia in the modern world. Machiavelli's classification deepens, with principalities further divided into hereditary and new. Hereditary principalities, like the Kingdom of Naples from his time or the British monarchy today, are those passed down through generations where the prince inherits the throne from his predecessors. The ruler here enjoys a measure of continuity and stability, an inherent legitimacy. New principalities, however, are unique. They are states that are newly acquired, either by luck, virtue, or a combination of both. Here, the ruler is analogous to an explorer, navigating through unknown territories, facing unprecedented challenges and opportunities. With heightened obstacles and untapped paths, the rewards too are unparalleled. This categorization of states and governments by Machiavelli is not just an intellectual drill. It sets the foundation for decoding the dynamics of power, the strategies of ruling, and the art of governance. As we prepare to delve deeper into these categorizations, we must bear in mind a poignant quote from The Prince. "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions." This quote prepares us for the remainder of The Prince, paving the way for the candid, practical, and at times contentious advice Machiavelli brings forth. With the stage set by Machiavelli, let's delve deeper into these principalities. As we move ahead, remember, this is not just about comprehending various forms of governance. It's about understanding power, it's about understanding the prince. Do not be neutral. At first glance, neutrality may seem like the safe harbor from the storm of conflict, a refuge that keeps you removed from the line of fire. But according to Machiavelli, it's far from being that simple. He famously said, Men are so simple and yield so readily to the desires of the moment that he who will trick will always find another who will suffer to be tricked. Reflecting this profound wisdom, he suggests that neutrality in the realm of politics can be a hazardous gamble. He contended that by opting not to choose a side, you leave yourself exposed to the caprice of both factions. From his perspective, it's analogous to being a deer trapped in the glare of two oncoming cars, with the drivers squabbling over the rights to the spoils. To illustrate this, let's take a quick journey back in time. Reflect on the Italian city-states during the Renaissance, a period of vast political turbulence. Those who aspired to maintain neutrality often found themselves at the mercy of stronger, more resolute forces. They were seen not as collaborators but as potential plunder, ready for the seizing. Let's shift our focus to another historical instance: the United States during early stages of World War II. Before the bombing of Pearl Harbor, America tried to maintain a stance of neutrality, but it only left them unprepared when war was thrust upon them. However, it's not all shades of black. Machiavelli wasn't entirely against neutrality. He believed that it could be a viable tactic, but only if applied tactfully and strategically. If you're a lesser power sandwiched between two behemoths, for example, it might be advantageous for you to remain neutral until you can determine which side has the upper hand. But even then, you should be ready to pledge your allegiance when the time is ripe. To sum it up, Machiavelli's counsel is to not embrace neutrality out of trepidation or indecisiveness. If you choose neutrality, do so with a comprehensive understanding of the potential perils and prizes. Be tactical, be decisive, and always be equipped to adapt to evolving circumstances. Is neutrality a sanctuary or a precarious gamble? Like many aspects of life, it depends on the context and your strategy. But one thing is absolute according to Machiavelli: there's no place for hesitation in politics. Neutrality, per Machiavelli, could be a dangerous move. Remember though, politics is more akin to a game of chess, not checkers. It demands strategy, vision, and sometimes a readiness to take risks. If you opt to be neutral, make sure it's a calculated decision, not a fallback position born out of fear or uncertainty. Be both the man and the beast. This wisdom resonates in today's political arena. In The Prince, Niccolo Machiavelli asserts that in politics, it's necessary to embody both human virtue and animal cunning for survival and success as a leader. He once said, "Men ought either to indulged or utterly destroyed, for if you merely offend them, they take vengeance. But if you injure them greatly, they are unable to retaliate." This quote captures the balance of power and diplomacy required in leadership. Take Angela Merkel, for instance, who governed Germany for over a decade. She has exhibited the courage of a lion in standing by her decisions, even in the face-heavy criticism, such as her handling of the migrant crisis in 2015. Yet she also showcased the cunning of a fox, being adept at political maneuvering and maintaining her position. Machiavelli utilizes the metaphor of the lion and the fox to elucidate his point. The lion, symbolizing bravery and power, encapsulates fearlessness and strength. Conversely, the fox, characterized by its wily nature, symbolizes the virtues of tact and guile. An effective ruler should replicate these characteristics. Consider former US President Barack Obama, known for his charisma and ability to inspire, thus earning the love and loyalty of many. Yet he also exhibited a shrewd political mind, taking calculated risks, such as authorizing the operation to capture Osama bin Laden, exhibiting the fearless nature of a lion and the cunning nature of a fox. The challenge, Machiavelli suggests, lies in striking a balance between being loved and feared, between being virtuous and cunning. Love can earn a ruler the loyalty of their subjects, fostering unity, as seen in Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's close relationship with his citizens. Fear, on the other hand, demands respect and obedience but can create resentment, as witnessed in the of Russia's Vladimir Putin. Therefore, in the contemporary political jungle, a leader needs to embody aspects of both man and beast, the lion and the fox, to effectively govern. This Machiavellian wisdom underscores the nature of power and the art of leadership. Ponder over this wisdom. In the political jungle, one needs to be both the lion and the fox. Destroy, do not wound. In The Prince, Machiavelli delves into the intricate intricacies of handling political foes. His hypothesis? It is straightforward but merciless. If you must confront an enemy, obliterate them entirely. He reasoned that a half-hearted measure, like a wound, leaves room for recuperation, and a rehabilitated enemy could seek retribution. This might come across as severe, but let's assess it within the tumultuous political climate that Machiavelli was immersed in. These were the times of the Renaissance Italy. an era punctuated by fluctuating alliances, treachery, and power contests. A wounded enemy could effortlessly regroup, establish fresh alliances, and return stronger. For instance, during the shifting landscape of Renaissance Italy, when Borgia family was overthrown, it was because their rivals fully dismantled their political influence, rather than merely wounding them. In such situations, the total elimination of potential threats became a survival strategy. However, this does not imply literal annihilation or personal ruin. In politics, destroying an adversary could mean undermining their reputation, revealing their weaknesses so thoroughly that they lose their clout and standing. This could be achieved through a multitude of means, such as superior policy proposals, exposing corruption, or winning public trust through effective leadership. For instance, in today's political landscape, we often see politicians discrediting their opponents by revealing scandals or corrupt practices. To quote Machiavelli, "Men rise from one ambition to another. First, they seek to secure themselves against attack, and then they attack others." Still, it's not without its perils. The attempt a rival can misfire, especially if it's perceived as unjust or the method used is considered deceitful. Furthermore, the act of destruction can induce a power vacuum, leading to unpredictability and instability. So, does Machiavelli's counsel hold water in every situation? As it often is in politics, the answer isn't black and white. It's a tactic, a strategy in the arsenal of political maneuvering. It holds relevance in certain circumstances, but it necessitates careful consideration, timing, and execution. In the world of politics, wounds can fester, and enemies can return. Therefore, perhaps the kernel of Machiavelli's advice retains some veracity, that tentative measures can sometimes be more hazardous than decisive action. Acquire when you can. In The Prince, Niccolo Machiavelli poses a question that has intrigued political and strategic minds for centuries. When should one expand their domain? According to Machiavelli, the answer is as clear-cut as it is brutal. Seize when you can. Machiavelli believed that a prince should always be on the lookout for opportunities to widen his territory. In the modern geopolitical landscape, one might equate this to Russia annexing Crimea or China's expansion in the South China Sea. Both instances illustrate the Machiavellian principle of expanding territory when the opportunity arises. He advocates that by annexing new lands, a prince not only magnifies his power, but also bolsters his position, keeping potential adversaries at bay. This is a game of constant vigilance and opportunism, where the stakes are high and the rewards even higher. Machiavelli's advice revolves around the acquire when you can. As he once said, men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that one who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. Remarkably, the business world echoes this sentiment. In the corporate sphere, look no further than Facebook's acquisition of Instagram or Microsoft's purchase of LinkedIn. These acquisitions were strategic moves to extend their reach, diversify their assets, or eliminate competition. Companies are constantly scanning the profitable deals, ready to leap when the opportunity arises. However, it's crucial to bear in mind that Machiavelli himself cautioned against unrestrained expansion, advising that a prince should always consider the effects of his actions. Overexpansion could lead to exhausted resources, internal unrest, and heightened vulnerability to external threats, something observable in the economic struggles of overambitious companies like WeWork. So the key, as Machiavelli would affirm, is strategic acquisition. Knowing when to strike, how to consolidate, and most importantly, recognizing when to hold back. It's a delicate balance, a power dance that requires both audacity and restraint. So, returning to the opening question, to take or not to take? Well, in Machiavelli's as evident in modern geopolitics and business strategies, seizing the opportunity is the name of the game. Never bring others to power. In The Prince, Niccolo Machiavelli masterfully crafts a cautionary tale about the potential pitfalls involved in propelling others to power. He argues that alliances can cloak inherent deceptions, and those who climb to power on the of others often find themselves in a perilous position of indebtedness. As Machiavelli himself wrote, men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions. The new ruler is forever beholden to those who facilitated his rise, and this indebtedness can lead to a precarious balance of power. One such example is the compelling story of Hiero of Syracuse. Hiero, who was once an average citizen, rose to prominence to become the tyrant of Syracuse. However, journey to the top was not without its share of challenges. He found himself in a state of perpetual to the individuals who had aided his ascent. His rule was tinged with tension, as he was constantly under threat by the very people who had helped him ascend the throne. Machiavelli's advice is crystal clear: if you seek to retain control, climb to power using your own resources. Avoid becoming reliant on the assistance of others, as they may their backs on you when it suits their interests. In the ruthless realm of power politics, alliances can be as risky as they are beneficial. While Machiavelli's counsel might seem harsh or even cynical, it is a reflection of the brutal reality of power politics. Whether you are a prince or a common man navigating through the complicated maze of power dynamics in your life, the message is clear: avoid depending on others to push you to power. Instead, earn it through your own merit and abilities. This is not to say that alliances and partnerships are inherently dangerous. Quite the opposite, they can greatly be beneficial. But Machiavelli urges us to proceed with caution, to remain aware of the delicate balance of power and the potential risks that come with it. So, next time you find yourself in a position of power, remember of Hero of Syracuse. Reflect on the potential dangers of alliances and the risk of owing your position to others. Perhaps in the ruthless world of politics, it's truly every man for himself. Is it better to be loved or feared? That's a question Machiavelli attempts to answer, and his response may be unexpected. As we delve into Chapter 7, we come across one of Machiavelli's most contentious and often debated philosophies: the politics of fear, a principle visible in the leadership styles of modern leaders like Fidel Castro and Vladimir Putin. Machiavelli, ever the honest communicator, lays it bare. He contends that although it would be ideal for a ruler to be both loved and feared, if one must choose, it's safer to be feared than loved. Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear, he observes. You may wonder, why fear? Isn't love the universal thread that binds us all together? For Machiavelli, and seemingly for countries like Cuba and Russia, the answer is not that straightforward. He suggests that love is an unpredictable emotion, likely to alter with the slightest change in circumstance. It is built on obligation, which people, being naturally self-serving, may not always respect. Fear, on the other hand, is constant. The fear of punishment never wanes, thus ensuring compliance. This principle is visible in the strong-armed approach of autocratic leadership to maintain control. This does not mean that Machiavelli endorses a reign of terror. He warns against being despised, noting that hatred can lead to downfall as swiftly as love can. The fear, too, is a deference to authority, a fear of the consequences of lawbreaking, not a fear born of hatred or cruelty. He underscores that while love is an ideal, it's fear that often keeps the wheels of leadership rolling. Fear, it appears, is more durable than love in the realm of politics, Machiavelli concludes, a sentiment echoed in the tactics of many modern-day leaders. We've journeyed along the winding paths of power and politics as depicted by Machiavelli in The Prince. In this comprehensive guide to power, he carefully examined the different forms of governance, from monarchy to democracy, each with its unique challenges and opportunities. He encouraged us to delve deeper into these differences to better understand the complex nature of ruling. As we navigate through the labyrinth of The Prince, we've looked through the lens of one of history's most astute observers of power and politics. As we approach the end, let's ponder over these ideas, dissect them, and apply them to our worldview. The true value of The Prince isn't in its agreement or disagreement, but in its faculty to spark thought and our perspectives. Even if you differ with Machiavelli's viewpoint, The Prince continues to fuel thought and discourse centuries after its publication. Remember, power is a game best mastered with wisdom. Make sure to subscribe for more content that fosters insight and understanding.